when you take out a material, you're always putting it back where it belongs, on the shelf, because other children are using it. So it fosters independence, because you don't need to go ask 5 people where to find this thing, because it's always in the same place. It helps to develop the community. Because you have this order, you're contributing to the community by helping to maintain it, so that we all can share and work together in that way. Different routines in the way the day flows, things like that, just help your child become more independent and responsible, because they already know what's expected. They don't need to, or what the next step is. They don't need to ask someone else. They can just go ahead with what's supposed to happen.
So anyway, those are kind of the very broad principles that we wanted to put our little things in the context of, if you will. So one of the things that we thought we really needed to talk about was the role of work. Because kids are coming home and saying, well, I did this work today, or we did that work. And, well, what are you doing? Well, this is work time. And we thought, well, maybe people aren't quite sure what this work means. And so, first of all, we have some pieces of apparatus out here that is work. But Montessori felt that everything that the child did was their work. And the larger purpose of their work was to construct themselves. That when adults have a piece of work to do, we generally look at it as something that we need to do and we want to get it done, and then we do something else. When a child is doing a piece of work, through interacting with the materials in the Montessori environment, they are inculcating a concept or developing a skill. And by doing that, they are forming themselves. So it's a very different perspective on activity. The child's perspective on activity and the adult's perspective on activity are two very different things. And in Montessori, work is paramount. I mean, most people come to the Montessori classroom to observe, and they say, but, well, when is lesson time? When are the lessons? And we say, well, that's what's going on all during the work period. The teacher is going around and giving individual lessons, but we're so used to that. Well, the lesson must be with, the adults here, and the kids are there, and the adult is doing something on a blackboard, and the kids are following it here at their desks, and that's the only way that learning can take place, and that's the only way lessons happen. No, in Montessori, it's the individual work with the piece of material. That's the learning time. That's the lesson. And the teacher initiates the child into the piece of apparatus so that they know basically how it goes. But then there's a lot of repetition with that same piece of apparatus that needs to happen for the child to inculcate the concept that's embodied within the piece of material. So when a child is doing their work during work time, that's lessons. That's when they're learning. That's what the learning is. And so they may not be bringing home a bunch of stuff if what they're doing is working with, for instance, the squaring and cubing material there. They may not bring anything home. What they will have done is first a counting exercise where they're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There are 4 fours there. 4 fours, those bars there are each 4. 4 fours make a square. So that's the first square. 4 squared is 16. And we keep on counting by 4. And then, for the younger one, then they're just practicing 4, 8, 12, 16, etc. The older ones are writing down the actual multiplication. That's a lot more fun than multiplication by rote. And you're also seeing graphically what a square and a cube of a number is. That's an example of Montessori work.
One of the amazing things about this work today that we discovered was we did some work with area and volume with the 3rd graders a few weeks ago. It came out of, we did Oakes testing, and it was very clear that there were certain types of questions that kids didn't understand about area and volume. So we did some practice with it. And then we were visiting this today, looking at multiplication. And then as they're looking at this, they're like, wait, that's the same. Now here's another visual representation. So there's multiple materials around the classroom that you can circle back on ideas and connect to that then can help children understand. Many of the works in our classroom don't have a paper output. So there's not necessarily something that they're going to take home, yet they've practiced all of these concepts through that. If they're doing a map and using an atlas and working with another child, there's this huge conversation that they've had, probably about using a table of contents, using an index, identifying the continent and the state, the countries within it, the oceans, all this part that it's not really represented on paper. Another work is the hundreds board that lots of first graders will do. I have 3 first graders who do the hundreds board all the time, every day. That's just what they would like to do. And coming from, I'm a Montessorian and a public school teacher, and I know there's standards and things like that. So I'm balancing and thinking, I'm like, wow, these guys do the hundreds board a lot. What am I going to do about this? And as I sit down and listen to their conversation, though it appears they're just doing the same practice over and over again, what a waste of time, you listen to their conversation, they're forming number fluency and really understanding the concepts of, wow, if I have 5 and I add 10 more, I'm going to get 15, and they're starting to understand the way that numbers can work together, that then later on translates into these abstract word problems that they can understand and break apart numbers when they're trying to do money work, because they spent so much time playing with the 100 board.
Yeah.
And I think that's just one of the things that I always remind myself when I'm working is, okay, it's great that they're doing that practice. So you might be concerned that your child is doing this practice all the time. And it's a great opportunity for you to come in and talk to your teacher's guide, or your child's guide, and say, what concepts are they learning in this material? What comes next? What are the goals, to really open up that conversation?
Yeah. I think it's really important to remember that although the children are choosing and are in control of a lot of what's going on, we have made the much larger choices of what is in the prepared environment. They're free to choose, but every single piece of apparatus in this environment is developmentally appropriate and a wonderful learning tool for children of this age. So whether they, and we make sure that they are done in sequence. They're not going to come and take the very last crowning glory in something and try to do that at the beginning. We'll make sure that they go step by step by step by step, because the materials build on each other. So there is control on the part of the child, but there's ultimate control on the part of the adult, because we've chosen what it is that's in here. And every single piece of apparatus is of value. So in that sense, you can be comfortable. I mean, as long as your child is doing work, your child is doing fine. The concern is when a child is so out of touch with themselves that with all this rich stuff, they can't find something that they want to do. But that's our job, to be the dynamic link between the child and the environment. We have to figure out, we have to do something dramatic enough that we can seduce them into it. And then once they get started, it feels so good. We all know, when we're really learning something that we like, that feels wonderful. And once they get in touch with that feeling, they want to reproduce that feeling. And so then it just kind of builds on itself. And then, the goal is that we become obsolete. But we're not there yet. But it's only the second year. The importance of choice, that was a big one. And I think we've touched on that a little bit already through the other things that we said. But the whole idea behind Montessori's stressing choice is that it's through our making our own choices that we learn about ourselves. And ultimately, Montessori's goal is that each of these children is self-aware and is pursuing their own dreams and is becoming a self-fulfilled individual. And you can't do that if you can't make your own choices. So from the very beginning, we want the child to make choices, to see what it is that is motivating them from inside. So the choice, there